Yvonne Meets Food. Today we're going to be making almond milk together. I've heard a lot that a lot of people don't like almond milk. They think it's too watery, it's kind of disgusting, especially when you compare it to other nut milks and dairy milk, of course. But I'm here to tell you that if you make almond milk at home, it's going to be drastically different than anything that you have that's in a carton at your local grocery store. What you need to keep in mind is the general process of how to make it. There are some steps that a lot of people forget to do to make sure that their almond milk is super creamy, and I'm going to help you figure out the best way to make it together today. So we're going to start by going through our ingredients. It's a very, very short list. There's some flavorings that you can use depending on how you want your almond milk to taste like, but the basic ingredients are really just almonds that you've soaked at least overnight, and as well as water. Everything else is pretty much optional, but the things that I like to use when I'm making almond milk at home are a little bit of a dash of cinnamon, maybe some almond extract just to bring out the almondy flavor. And then for sweeteners, of course it depends on how sweet you like it, but you can use dates to sweeten it as you're blending it in your blender. You can use maple syrup, honey. So the key thing to keep in mind when you are making almond milk is you want to make sure that you are soaking your almonds for at minimum 12 hours or overnight. You want the almonds to be fully soaked inside out so that when you blend it, it's going to be at its max creaminess. You want that creamy, luscious flavor in your mouth. You don't want it to taste like you're just drinking nut water. Then for the equipment that you need, so of course a bowl to soak your almonds, a couple of spoons. Then you're going to need a blender, of course, to blend all the almonds with the water to make the actual milk. And then the last step is really to have either a fine sieve or a cheesecloth to get to wring out the almonds to get all of the milk out. You really want something that's really fine. So if you take a quick look at this, it's got really, really tiny fine holes. That's really the ideal, kind of texture you want in order to, extract as much milk as you can out of the almonds. A lot of people will ask, well, what do I do with, the strained almonds after you've made the milk? There are a couple things. So almonds are pretty expensive. They use a ton of water. So I would actually save the pulp and use it to mix into smoothies, into your oatmeal. You can also discard it. I would recommend that you not do that in an effort to reduce the amount of food waste. So we are going to keep all of our flavorings aside. So if you're going to be using almond extract, the cinnamon, I would save them until the end. The main things you want to do to begin are to blend the almonds with the water as well as the dates if you're using them. So I'm going to strain our almonds, and then I'm going to use this strained almonds and then just dump it into the blender. We're going to add our water. The proportion is about 1 cup of dried raw almonds to about 3.5 to 4 cups of water. I use about 3.5 cups. The yield at the end is going to be about 4 cups of almond milk. Add that 3.5 cups, and then 2 dates to start if you want it sweeter, and if you have more dates, of course, feel free to add in more. Just gonna do a quick mix of this, and then we are going to blend it all together. So I'm just gonna put on the lid. Been about 2 minutes, so we're just going to check the sweetness of this to make sure that it's kind of what we're looking for. So you can see here it's quite frothy on the top. I'm just going to quickly taste for sweetness from the dates. That frothiness is amazing, but it probably needs 1 more date, so I'm just going to add 1 more. I'm going to keep blending. So I just added that 3rd date, so I'm just going to take a quick taste test again. I think the sweetness is good this time. So here comes the fun part, or the painful part, depending on how you're thinking about this. We've already blended the almonds, and we're going to strain it into a large jug with the cheesecloth covering it. So you just want to kind of tuck it into whatever bowl or jug you're using, and then slowly start pouring in the almond milk so that you can start filtering out all the solids for the almonds. Just really carefully kind of pour it in little by little. So here, whoa, oh no, it's like getting cut. Ah! Okay, we're towards the end of that piece. We're just gonna gather the cheesecloth by the edges and just kind of squeeze it out. It just kind of feels like you're milking a cow or something. It's kind of weird. You're probably gonna make a little bit of a mess and start squirting around your kitchen counter, so don't worry about that. Clean that all up later. We're gonna take the almond solids. You can put it into a bowl for, to save it later. So see this? They're all the solids. Oy. And then we're just gonna continue the process with the rest of the almond milk. We strained the almond milk in batches. This is really what it should look like when you're done. As you can see, it's very nice, creamy, milky. The almond pulp, which we were straining out very assiduously, we've got all of this pulp here. So now that we finished straining the almond milk, the fun part really comes when you can add in the flavoring. So we're gonna be using a little bit of ground cinnamon. We'll also be adding a little bit of almond extract. You can kind of play around with the flavorings, of course. I've used almond extract, some vanilla, honey, maple syrup in the past. Just, flavor it to taste. So I'm just gonna do like a dash or two of the cinnamon. And then just mix that in. And then I'm gonna add just a little bit of almond extract. Just maybe like about a half teaspoon. Don't wanna go too crazy. Just enhance the almond flavor. So you're having questions about cheesecloth. You can easily order it on Amazon, pick it up at any grocery store that's near you. The greatest thing about using it for any type of nut milk that you want to make is that it's easily reusable. So even though it seems like, oh gosh, I have to buy another thing at the store, which really stinks, you can reuse this pretty much endlessly until it starts breaking apart. After you use it, just run it through some water. If you're really worried about cleanliness, you can add some soap and water and just let it dry on your dish rack. So as the last step of our almond milk making process, we're just going to run it through a quick sieve again. And then put it into a jar for storage. So oftentimes people will ask, how long does homemade almond milk last? It really lasts really not too long. So there's no preservatives in it, obviously, so you want to make sure that you're probably consuming it within 4 to 5 days. I actually just really like drinking it, but of course feel free to add it to any type of oatmeal smoothie that you like. So we've got the almond milk ready in our jar for storage, so I'm just gonna pour myself some so that we can try it together. I'm just gonna pour a little bit in. Okay, let's see what it's like. Almondy. It's super yummy. Really creamy. You can tell that there's no additives, no preservatives in it. It's really pure. Has kind of, that almondy flavor. Oddly, it tastes toasted even though it hasn't been toasted because we used raw almonds. And you can taste just a hint of that cinnamon that we added, just a dash or two of. Definitely really recommend that you try making almond milk at home, especially if you have been skeptical of almond milk that you've had packaged in cartons before. Let me know how you like it, and bon appetit.